My name is Marceline Zambrana. I'm a queer Latina with Quechua and Aymara ancestry. My paternal grandmother was a Quechua indigenous woman who recently passed, so it's important for me to acknowledge my ancestry and as well as acknowledge that as an immigrant that I'm on indigenous territory, otherwise known as Turtle Island. I landed as a permanent resident in Canada in 2006. Before I continue, it's important for me to acknowledge the privileges that I have as a permanent resident and that I can access certain services more easily than people who have precarious status. My parents originally came from Bolivia at a time in Latin America where so many coups d'etats and civil wars were going on. I have heard indirectly through kitchen conversations with their friends that they were undocumented for a time in the USA during the 1970s, but it was so much easier to get your citizenship at the time, even though they don't like to talk about it now. I was born in New York City, and we lived in the immigrant barrio Queens. I rarely saw my parents due to them working so much, so as a result I was with my Spanish-speaking babysitters. School was always a hectic place for me. I was placed in ESL at an early age and was later expelled from school when I was in kindergarten due to irrational behavior, and I was told I need to go to a school with kids with special needs. Later, when I was living in Toronto, I spent my 3rd and 4th grade years, but unfortunately I was severely bullied in school, which has left scars in my life, and I'm now currently trying to work through those scars in order to heal. I received a lot of counseling when I returned to New York City, but I remained in ESL until my final years of junior high. Even though my parents did not make a lot of money, I can easily say we were the ones that went to Bolivia the most. As a result, I became aware how race and class played out within my extended family. Oftentimes, it was darker-skinned cousins, myself included, that were always left out in playtime with other light-skinned cousins. It is due to these experiences I have issues with how conversations with other Latinas play out, because oftentimes race, class, and gender are often excluded in these conversations. In terms of my sexuality, I have never really discussed it except with few close friends, but I knew at a young age I was not like most other Latinas because I've never had an interest in men. I never had crushes or anything like that. Ironically, I had a lot of guy friends, but that's as far as it ever went in that area. I have always been more interested in girls, but I knew it was something I needed to keep quiet about, since growing up in the Latino community, machismo was something people do not like to deal with in their families. It has become a lot harder to keep my activism and how I identify my sexuality private from my family, especially in regards to my volunteer work in the LGBTQ sector. Especially now with the recession happening, that most of my friends are now living below the poverty line. To be frank, I'm not sure how to end my storytelling because my story is ongoing. But at the moment I am left knowing I know 2 colonial languages, both Spanish and English, hoping to make Japanese my 3rd. I have traveled back and forth to Bolivia, the USA, and Canada on piss poor wages. I am currently unemployed and wondering where my future path will take me. But at least I do know now is that I have my history and how it relates to my transnational experiences.